Seville 1589. The main square is filled, thousands of people gather to witness the autodaf. In the center stands a 32-year-old woman awaiting her fate. Her name is Maria de Cardona, her eyes hollow from months of torture in the dungeons of the Inquisition. Her body, once strong and healthy, is now only skin and bones. The authorities have declared her guilty of heresy, witchcraft, and pact with the devil. The sentence is death by fire. To understand how a respected woman reached this end, we must go back in time. Maria was not born a heretic. She was the daughter of a prosperous merchant family of Jewish ancestry converted to Christianity. She grew up in Spain ruled by fear and suspicion, where new Christians lived under constant watch. Maria received a rare education for a woman of her time. She learned to read and write, studied literature, and practiced natural medicine. Her wisdom made her well known in Seville. At 20 she married Rodrigo Diga, a low-ranking officer, and soon built a respected reputation as a healer. She helped women in childbirth and cured illnesses with herbs. Her life seemed calm until the Inquisition grew harsher in Seville. The Holy Office, founded in 1478 by the Catholic monarchs, sought to protect faith by punishing heresy. First targeting converted Jews and Muslims, its reach widened to any sign of defiance. In 1587 Maria attended Isabel Duna, wife of an inquisitorial official, whose childbirth ended in tragedy. Both mother and child died despite Maria's effort. Whispers soon began. They claimed Maria had killed Isabel through witchcraft, that she practiced dark rituals and brewed demonic potions. Some accused her of owning forbidden books and secretly following the faith of her ancestors. In a world governed by fear, such rumors destroyed lives. On the dawn of March 16, 1588, Inquisition officers broke into her house. She was dragged away from her husband and children and imprisoned in the dungeons of Castle San Jorge, the heart of the Inquisition in Seville. Thus began one of the most brutal trials ever recorded in inquisitorial archives. The system functioned like a relentless machine. There were no defense attorneys, accusers remained secret, and confession was the only goal. To obtain it, any method was permitted. Maria spent her first days isolated in a dark, damp cell, not understanding what she was accused of. When brought to interrogation, she faced 3 inquisitors who questioned her about her healing practices, beliefs, and ancestry. She denied all accusations, claiming she was a devout Catholic using traditional medicinal herbs. Her defiance enraged the inquisitors. Denial was treated as heresy. Weeks passed with daily interrogations until her strength faded. The inquisitors then ordered systematic torture. First came the strappado. Bound with hands behind her back, she was hoisted to the ceiling and dropped repeatedly, dislocating her shoulders. When this failed, they used the rack, stretching her body until her tendons nearly snapped. Between sessions she was left weak, hungry, and broken. Months of agony destroyed her will. In delirium, she confessed to witchcraft, devil worship, and murder. The inquisitors were satisfied, but demanded a voluntary confession. When she regained sense and recanted, they resumed torture, using water to simulate drowning until she confessed again. Her spirit was shattered. Outside, her husband Rodrigo tried to save her, spending their fortune on lawyers and bribes, but no one dared challenge the Inquisition. Their children were sent to a convent and taught to hate their mother. The church seized their property. In less than a year, a prosperous family was ruined. In December 1588, the tribunal declared Maria guilty and sentenced her to death by fire. On January 27, 1589, she was dressed in the yellow tunic of the condemned, decorated with flames and demons. The condemned were led to the main square for public execution. When offered a chance at repentance, Maria spat in the inquisitor's face. Flames soon engulfed her body, as the crowd shouted prayers and insults. Her ashes were scattered in the Guadalave River. The Inquisition erased her name from records, confiscated her property, and branded her memory as heretic. Thousands met the same fate during the Inquisition, their suffering buried under the same silence that consumed Maria de Cardona. The impact of the Inquisition on Spanish society was profound and long-lasting. It created a culture of fear, suspicion, and conformity. People denounced their neighbors before being denounced themselves. Independent thought was stifled, scientific and intellectual development delayed. While the rest of Europe advanced with the Renaissance and later the Enlightenment, Spain remained culturally isolated, trapped in a system that valued religious orthodoxy above all else. The Spanish Inquisition was finally abolished in 1834, more than 300 years after its foundation, but its dark legacy persisted much longer. The story of Maria de Cardona could have been completely forgotten. The Inquisitors did everything in their power to erase her existence. However, fragments of her stories survived in documents preserved in the Inquisition's archives. Ironically, the meticulous recording system that condemned her also preserved aspects of her life. Modern historians studying these archives have managed to reconstruct stories like hers, revealing not only the inner workings of the Inquisition, but also giving voice to those whom the system tried to silence forever. Maria de Cardona was not just a victim. She represents thousands of men and women who were ground by the relentless gears of a system designed to crush dissent and impose conformity through terror. Today, the places where the Inquisition operated are tourist attractions. Castle San Jorge in Seville, where Maria spent her last months in agony, now houses a museum dedicated to the victims of the Inquisition. Visitors walk through the same corridors where prisoners were dragged to torture sessions. They look at the same courtyards where autos de fe once took place. What was once an instrument of terror is now a memorial and a warning. The story of Maria de Cardona and countless other victims reminds us of what can happen when religious fanaticism joins with state power, when fear overcomes reason, and when society turns against its own members in the name of ideological purity. The most important lesson we can draw from cases like Maria's is about the fragility of justice and human dignity. In just 1 year, a respected, educated, and productive woman was transformed into a hated criminal, tortured to madness, and finally burned alive in a public square. All this with the approval of the highest religious and civil authorities of the time, and with the enthusiastic support of the population. If it happened once, it can happen again. Different ideologies, different enemies, different methods, but the same basic mechanism, the dehumanization of the other, the suspension of due process, torture as a method of investigation, and the physical elimination of dissenters. The story of Maria de Cardona is not just a morbid account of medieval cruelty. It is a vivid reminder of why human rights, due legal process, and the separation of church and state are precious achievements of modern civilization, achievements that must be continuously defended. For in the shadows of history, the mechanisms that destroyed Maria still await, ready to be reactivated whenever fear overcomes reason. Whenever the search for scapegoats overcomes justice, whenever forced conformity is valued above individual freedom, the true monument to victims like Maria is not found in museums or history books, but in the constant vigilance against the same human impulses that centuries ago lit the fires of the Inquisition.